Syndesmos, the connector. Okay, so what we're talking about here, does anyone remember? It's been a long while. What 103, 104, and 105, what they all discuss? Or do you want me to go over it?
From the wasn't it
going? If you covered this in the last class, I was not here.
Going up from the.
So these
from
are
that little
symbol,
ga. And
so
this one is.
So these are your sharps and flats.
Yes.
So, and so these kind of change. They're your one-time usage flats, and there's other ones that are more general and that they apply for a long time. But these are your single-use ones. And so, if you see something,
the one with the little cross on it was a sharp.
So if you see something that points down, that means it's that you're flatting the note. So this is a flat, and it could have a cross, or it could have more than that. But in general, for our music, it's one of these. And then if it's pointing up, or pointing up with a cross, this is a sharp.
What is a thorgon? I forgot.
It's the note name, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So,
from the note.
Yeah, from the
and the other one's
ga.
from pa,
So the way that these work, oftentimes, the way that we'll do it is kind of just like cut the interval in half. Technically, this means a certain thing in terms of how many, like we said that the scale was separated into 72 parts, 72 commas, or moria. And moria is just the word for molecule in Greek, so just small thing. So 72 individual small parts. And so then these might mean, flat it by 2, flat it by 4, but at some point, if we're learning to read the notes anyway, it's like we're not going to be able to sing small intervals and discern them. So in general, we'll just do it the way that we do Western stuff and just cut it in that way. So if you had like mi pa vo ga vi ke vi, if we were to flat it vi ke vi ke vi ga vi. So that's how.
I just imagined they were morsels.
Morsels?
Yes.
Oh yeah. So. Any thoughts or questions on that before we start singing things? All right. So 103. So we'll sing this. Let's do it on Nipavu and see how we do. Tell me if it's too hard, and then we can switch to La.
After all this time, of course it will be.
And then next time, what my intention is to print out real music, and next week we'll start going through Vespers stuff, because now we're done with the packet, so we're good to go. So 103, that's our ni pa vo ga vi ga vi ke vi ga vi ga vo pa vo ga vi ga vi ga vo.
I forgot to give it whole emphasis.
Vi ga vi ni vo pa ni. So that one, the way what it says in Greek up there is for 103 is that we have sharps on ga. So if you notice everywhere is ni pa vo ga vi. But again, a single time use. So you see it once and then you throw it away. Any questions on that one? Since we only have one exercise before we start putting it on other notes.
It's tricky because you get it in your head and then you don't give a full interval to the descent that you always are supposed to give.
Yeah, and it's just a matter of getting used to it and being flexible, and being malleable. So 104. Let's do this on La. So La, 1, 2, La, 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 la,
Would you go over that one with the big short
Please,
thing on
yeah.
top?
Sure.
Because I forgot what that combination is.
Wait, where? Which one?
It's been over a month for me too, so
After
no.
Second line?
No, the last line.
Last line. Mm-hmm. Sure.
Well, that combination appears twice, but that particular combination that has that big mark on the top of it, I forgot what it is.
Oh, sure. Yeah. First, let me sing the end of line 2 and the beginning of line 3.
Okay.
So it'd be Pavu pavu ni pa pavu gavu vu pani pani ni. And now I'll write it out on the board and show you what's going on. And this is a classic thing of how to end tone 8 hymns. So you have this symbol, right?
Right.
Which is your gorgon, which means to go fast.
Mm-hmm.
And so that means that if we see something like this, this is half a beat, and this is a half a beat before it, right? So then we also have combined in here, we have our dot, our upply, and so that one, for, let's say it's on an apostrophos, that means that this gets a second beat. So this is now 2 beats. And then we had a little Nike, an upside down Nike, something kind of, meaning that we have some sort of a flutter going on. And so then, and this is your antitenema, if I recall. And then, let's see, anything else?
So this is what I don't know.
I'll get in there.
When we have something that looks like a measure mark.
I'll get in there.
Okay.
Yep. I'm just preamble, just to make sure that we're on the same page. So all these things are going to combine together to make some full rhythms. So.
To make the phrase that we have all memorized.
Exactly. Now you get to see it written out. So what I'll do first is we have this phrase above. So this starts on vous. And so this is pa, vous, pa, vous. So, and then we have our gorgons on top of there. So this is a half a beat, half a beat, half a beat, half a beat. And then pa, pa, vu, ni. Okay? So 1 and 1 and 1, 2. That's your little phrase there. And then we have our ni right after that. So hopefully we should be on ni there. So pavu, pavu, ni. Does this make sense so far?
Mm-hmm.
So from there.
It does now. It didn't when I was singing it.
Well, it comes out of nowhere. And then we have just our regular oligon with our plasma. So that's just pa, I'll write it.
Because it was equal tempo because it was on the second part of the pair.
Yep. Yeah. So 1 and 2 and 1.
That one's clear. It's the next group.
Yep. So we have and then we have this. Okay, so let's work through this first. So this is again pa. So pa vu ga. That's everything in here because we read from bottom up. So this guy first. Pa vu ga. And this one is vu right after. So there's a dot here too. And there's a little flutter. So the symbol on the bottom, the kendimata, he's again our unstressed syllable, and he's weak. So he should not get a strong beat, and he should not be held. So this dot applies to the oligon. That's the only one it can apply to, the top symbol. So this one is 1, 1. This guy ends up being 2 beats because of this dot. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Doesn't the gorgon shorten that?
Exactly. So then he gets shortened by the gorgon. So this is a half, and then this one is 1 beat. This is 1 beat. This ga, which used to be 2 beats, now gets a half beat taken away. So he's 1 and a half. So pa vu ga vu. 1, 2, 1, 2, and and then.
But what is that symbol on top of it? It's like a little.
Yep, I'm getting there.
Okay.
So then you have your antikanama, which is why you end up fluttering around this pavu gavu. That's just where this little fluttered symbol means. So we have 1 and 2 and 1, 2, 1, 2. Now we have a different set here. So we change up the meter. And so what they end up doing is, or not changing up the meter, but they have to write it in a different way because what they're doing is they're giving you bar lines for every 2 beats. They're saying this is a set of 2, this is a set of 2. So 1 and 2 and, they put a bar line. 1, 2, put a bar line. 1, 2, put a bar line. 1, 2.
Because you stole the other half, you have to put the bar on top?
Well, now we're putting it in the middle of a phrase, in the middle of a combo
because you
symbol.
stole it.
So you put it on top because it splits this symbol combo in half. So this bar line goes somewhere in the middle of these 2 symbols. Pa, vu, ga. So that just says 1, 2, 1, 2, and 1. There's another bar line there. And then the rest of it, we'll go through too. So you have, that one is initially 2 beats, except it's acted on by the gorgon on the iparoi here. So this one makes this 1.5 beats. And then this one has 2 down ones inside of it. So we have down and down. The first one's 1/2. The second one's also 1/2 because we have an oligon with gorgon on top. So 1/2, 1/2, 1/2, down, and then finally, I assume it's 5 on top. Yeah. So, pa vu ga vu vu pa ni pa ni ni. So 1.5, 1/2, 1/2, 1/2. So a whole string of 1/2s, and then 1, and then 2. And then we should end on me. So, does that make sense? Kind of spaced out?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I guess let's sing it just at the end of that again. So, sing it on La or Ni Pa Vu? I don't know which one.
What was it again?
Just the end of that. From that, the end of line 2. So Ni Pa Vu. Let's do La. La. So, and that's used in, at least the ending phrase is used in a lot of music. So it's good to at least see it now. But any questions on it? You want to sing it again or move on?
Yeah, let's sing it again from the top. I'm still not comfortable with it, and
okay.
I'm a repetition now.
And we'll see it a lot more in the future too. So in case it doesn't completely set and gel, it will not be forgotten. So 104. La 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 the next to last measure. Oh. La 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 la. Oral tradition.
Okay.
So,
Is that one of those chant master discretion things?
Yeah.
Poetic license.
Yeah. Well, yeah, hopefully it's predictable. And eventually you realize that you're fluttering at the same time that everyone else is fluttering, and you're like, how did this magic happen? It's the spirits, it's the Holy Spirit, hopefully. But then there's also the viria before it, the stress before that eson right there. And so that tells you that you're going to emphasize it anyway. So that helps tell you that something should be done there. Na na na. And you will hear the Arabs do. Da 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 na ba da da. There's the bouncing on both sides.
Does that relate to any particular tone? For some reason it seems familiar.
Tonate.
Tonate. Oh, very good.
Yeah, and if you ever go to an Antiochian church, no one may know the rest of the words. No one may know the rest of anything of it, but they all know that. And so then they just all jump on to that ending because they all know it's coming. Yeah. And it's like, unto our souls, or whatever the melody ends up ending with. They all
There's
jump on
a double one.
Na na. And then, there's also na na.
Let me hear that one again.
Na na. But that's written a different way. So, 105, unless there's any more questions on 104. 105 gets us into real tonate stuff. Plagal of fourth mode, or plagal fourth tone. Because now we're starting to flat zo, which is the real way that tone 8 or plagal 4 works. So, this is actually real music here, the way that you would see it written. So, 105, that'll be our name. Let's do.
From
yep, a flat on the note zo.
Wait.
105. So, that'll be our knee. Let's do it on la for the moment.
Which one was the sharpening? Sharpening from the what is
fogon?
So emphasis is on fogon zo. So it's a flat on the note zo.
Fifth.
So let's do la. So this is where ni pa fu ga vi ke zo ke di. Not the same zo that we've been singing. So ni 1 2 1 la 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 Nice. Very nice. Any questions on that? Or?
This one was easier than the other one.
Yep. This is more. The other one had hints of a slow melody in 104. 105 was a brief melody, specifically through and through.
Okay.
So, let's sing it one more time, maybe, and just a little faster. 1 2 1 la 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 Alright, very nice. 106. You don't see this very often. This is a sharp, or a flat on ke. So, on the note ke. This one, you see it in one specific hymn during Vespers in English, which is when the Lord was crucified willingly. You see it on any like little suffering or crucified. Willingly to the cross. You just have a little bit of a nuance there to kind of. It's kind of digging into the suffering there. So that's the time when you might see it here.
It's very hard to get the original note.
I agree. But that's just something to practice and ear train and voice train and everything. And it's really a brain teaser type of thing, to get used to switching back and forth. So just to hear the difference and to get used to singing it. Exactly. So 106. So our first note is D. So what is a la? La 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 la
Why did you flood the rest of the last one, and can you do that one section which I messed up big
Sure.
time?
I fluttered, and I wanted to flutter more, but I restrained myself. Because you're la 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 la. I don't know if I mentioned to you guys, but I mentioned to the intermediate class that when I was in Greece, I was at this chanting store, and they had all this chant material, and they were there, and they're like, and I said, do you have anything, either, or I asked them for books, and they said, we don't have anything in English. I said, I don't want English, I want Greek. And they're like, why would you want Greek? And they said, you're an American. And then I said, well, I can read this stuff. And they were trying to figure out other things. So then they said, okay, you can read this, chant these things. And so they told me to chant these complicated things. And I didn't do anything with it. Like, this is like 8 years ago or more. And they were like, no. They were like, you're holding the note. And I was like, yes, I am. And they're like, no, that's not exciting. They said, you hold the note, you have to do something with it. And so even though the music says nothing, they started interpreting all these holds. So it was like, ni pa pa vo. And so I just held it like that. And the guy was like, no. He was like, ni pa pa vo. And I was like, where is that written? He's like, and then he was like, wait. And he brought over his brother. They did exactly the same thing.
So if you're having big time diatonic descent, you just can't read it.
Nope. Yeah. Kedigavu pani. This is what I wanted to do, but pani. Just a little flutter's enough. So.
Okay, the big horrible part.
The end of the first line, right?
Yes.
The.
We're going up 5.
If we can do it from
up 5.
the ending on ni.
That's up
and
4.
Then we're making this large jump, and then very quickly, a whole lot is happening.
Yep. So that's gonna be the ke the ni the. So we'll sing it on la, and we'll see how it goes. Right at the end of the first line. La 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 la. Cool. Does that make sense now, or?
Well, could you just do it one more time?
Sure.
From right before the change, right before
the change. Yep. Okay. So from the the the.
No, I was thinking from the knee here,
Yep.
including this jump.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Ni la 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 la. Cool. Better? All right.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
All right. So moving on. So the next set of things before we get into real music, these are what it says here in Greek. I believe is that the next step is to go to the actual book of the 8 tones for the resurrection, the Anastasiometarion, and that's just the Vespers and Matins for the resurrection, and they say the one here by Ioannou, by John, the Protopsaltes. So that's just the traditional book of music that everyone starts with and that everyone sings from. And pretty much when you're just singing a regular Sunday services, you would go to that book unless you really are trying to do something fancy or something different. So, but before we do that, because everything's been from ni, the next set of exercises are just to tell you, get used to singing from pa, get used to singing from vu, get used to singing from ga. So we'll sing through a bunch of these and see how they go.
Are you going to give us a little formula?
A little epikema? Yeah, the little intonation? Sure. Let's move, before we go to the one from pa, I'd like to go forward to 114 and 115, because those are simple, simpler than the other ones, not as many jumps. So I think those will be easier to start with. So these are ones that start from ke, and these mimic Plagal first mode or tone 5, the brief version of tone 5, Plagal 1. So if that's ni pa vu ga di ke, so then it'd be ke zo ni zo ke di ke, but that's a little high. So ane ane, so ke zo ni zo ke di ke. So do you want to do it on la or the note names? Either one's fine for me for the moment.
Let's do it on la the first time round and the note name second time round.
Okay. So 114, 1, 2. La 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 Exactly. So, very characteristic little phrases here that you would hear. And the characteristic ending, da da dun dun da da da. You'll hear that all the time.
Oh, this is Plagal.
Plagal 1.
First.
Mm-hmm. And if you look in the little instructions,
Alpha.
Yeah, they count by alpha, beta, gamma, delta. At least in the ancient system. So 1 is alpha, 2 is beta. So.
If they hadn't invented Roman numerals and Arabic numerals, were definitely out of the question.
Yeah. So, but then the funny part is like when they say when they're counting a psalm, like what psalm you're on. Sometimes you'll see it written in the Greek numerals. So you'll see like kappa tau, and you're like, what number is that? I have no idea what number is that. And sometimes my Greek friends they're like, alpha, beta, gamma, delta, and they eventually they get to 10. They're like, okay. Got and then eventually.
The same thing.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yes. Every letter has a number, and certain ones are like 10 or 40.
Yeah.
But you get really mixed up when they're putting in the 40 and a few numbers.
Mm-hmm. So the same thing happens here. So this is Plagal of the first mode, or tone 5 for the Russian system of counting. So let's do 114 one more time, and we'll do it with Ke. Kezoni. Kezoni is okay. 1, 2, 1. Kezoni ni pazoni zokevi. All right. So 115. We'll do it on La. 1, 2, 1. La 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 Another characteristic phrase. Ni zo ke vi ni ni ke zo ni ke. That the la is very very characteristic for plagal 1 or tone 5. Alright, so from there, let's go to back to the beginning of this set. So 107.
Alright.
So let's do 107 with the note names, because this one should be pretty straightforward. So this would be tone 1, or it could be plagal of tone 1 from Pa, the slow version, but these are mostly pretty fast. So Anane, so that'll be our Pa. Pa Vugai Vike Zani Pa Hani Zorke
I'm not understanding the sharpening of that note.
That's a flat.
I know, I meant the...
So, Pa Ni Zorke instead of Pa Ni Zorke.
Okay, now I hear it.
I got it wrong.
Yeah. So Pa Ni Zorke Vigavo Pa. Zorke Vigavo Pa. Does that help?
Very symphonic.
An
Yep.
illustration that I am not a soprano.
Ah, yes.
Better one than I am.
So 108, this is the, if you notice right at the beginning, it goes Ni Pa Pa.
Oh, it's giving the little formula.
Yes, that's not music. That's just the intonation as to get how to get into it. Sometimes you'll hear people that go Ni Pa Pa. That's not a good thing to do in church. It's better to go Ananes. That's the traditional way to begin to introduce it, so that it has the same notes, but it has a different word. And those little intonations, those little phrases to get you into the tone, they're remnants either from historical reasons as to why you would say it like that, or they're remnants of little prayers that were said. So Ananes comes from a section of a prayer which is, "Save, O good King, yea, save us," or whatever it is. I'll have to look up what it is again. But they take little bits of that so that every portion is prayer, so that it's not just the intonation, it's also a little prayer to the King of Glory. So it's not just a non-syllabic thing. So it'd be as if we were to go, "Save us," or something like that.
That's nice.
Or "Save, O King." Or sometimes, what you'll hear is, instead of going like we do here, we go Amen. After a certain petition, if you're going to start music, some chanters will go just right into the tone and go Amen, and start singing from there. Depending upon who you talk to, that's good practice or bad practice. Depends who you talk to. So, and what their tradition is. So 108 begins like that. Let's do it on La, and then we'll go through the rest of it. So that's our Pa. La, La, 1, 2, La, 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 Which one?
You want to do it again?
Yeah, could we just do the last, the last
I'm
phrase
more of a take it from the top
from Pa, the last phrase.
Let's just start from the top, like Steve was saying.
Okay.
We'll just do the entire thing. So, la 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 la.
I was doing the wrong one. I'm sorry.
108.
Yep.
Okay, I was doing 107.
Take it from the top.
Back from the top. Yeah.
Okay.
La 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 la
This is Say, O Lord, thy people.
Where?
Is this whole melody Say, O Lord, thy people?
Nope.
No?
No? That's tone 1.
Save, O Lord, thy people, and bless thine inheritance. There's similarities to it, but nope.
Close, but no cigar.
Yeah. But this one's very characteristic tone 1. If you notice it goes from pa to thee, back to pa, and kind of hits around thee. That's what tone 1 does all the time. So if you notice 109 does exactly the same thing. So let's do this on la. La 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 And let me know if it's too fast or too slow. How'd 109 feel?
Easier.
Okay, do it again or 110?
110.
Let's let Lauren decide.
You have 2 choices.
110.
110.
A decision has been made. Okay, so 110. This one is our first time that we're going down to like kind of below pa. So we're going down to ke. Pa ni zo ke zo ni ga vo pa. Okay, so la 1 2 la 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 So here, if you notice, we stay around pa a lot, but instead of going to thee, in this case we go to ga. That's very characteristic of slow tone 1. But if you notice, let's say middle of the first line, we have pa ke ga di ga la la, that little phrase there. At the end, da da. If you notice at the end, we have the same phrase at the last two measures. Vu ga vu pa di ke di ga, or vu ga vu pa, same symbols, and this is where you start seeing little patterns of repeated formula that they're you kind of get used to little phrases of symbols as to how they work. So now you can see little repeated things just because you can recognize the phrase. So eventually sight reading becomes much easier because you start getting used to these things that are used over and over and over again. And you don't even have to think about the rhythm because you've seen it before and you know how it works. So
there's a Gorgon at the end of the first line, no, 2 beats from the end of the first line with a little 77 underneath it, 2 question marks.
Isn't that the ga mark?
oh, that's the ga. Yeah, that's the ga mark. So that just tells you that you should be on ga.
It's another one of those signatures.
Is that?
That's the signature that goes with ga.
So
okay.
You got the little scale chart there. Yeah. So that one, if you look, so right now we're in the diatonic scale. So if we go over here to this diatonic scale, if you look here, we have pa, but then we also have the ga there.
All right.
Yep. And the little waterfalls there, just to let you know where some of these things come from. Just because sometimes people ask, so I won't tell you what they exactly mean yet. But if you look at some of them, let's say, beneath knee in the diatonic.
Oh, okay.
You see something like this?
Oh, wow.
And
That must have happened in the lesson that I missed.
Nope, we never talked about it.
Okay.
So we're just, pretty much everything that we're going to sing for the near future is diatonic scale.
Right.
And that we're going to approximate, it's not a real Western major scale, but we're going to approximate it as a Western scale. So beneath knee, you always see this little guy. Okay? And if you think about it, this is a delta, this is also delta, but this is lowercase delta. So if I were to take this lowercase delta and make it a little fancy, it could look something like that. So if instead of doing that, I have, and then I come up and around, it's a delta, kind of, but now it's a cursive delta or something like that.
Oh, okay.
This is a fancy delta. And then you have ga, beneath ga, you have this little symbol, the little waterfalls. So if I were to write eta, well, a fancier way of writing that is just kind of separate them out and, make it a little bit fancified with maybe, the way you might write it with a calligraphy pen or something like that.
Oh, right.
So this is a holdover from some of these historical things. This, if you see beneath pa, and we'll talk about more of them, this is actually a holdover from ancient Greece. How like if in Homer's poems, at the beginning, like someone, if they wanted to sing the poems, they would write this to tell them in what scale to sing it and how to sing it. So you might see this at the beginning, so that's a holdover from there, along with, if you ever see a little nose with 2 dots and things like that, those are holdovers from ancient Greek music. So, because the Byzantines, they didn't throw away things.
I wasn't sure if that was to be read as a gorgon and shortened.
Yeah, that one there looks a lot like a gorgon. In a lot of the music from St. Anthony's Monastery, what it ends up looking at is instead of like a straight line, instead of like that, which looks a lot like a gorgon, it's more like, like a little stylized,
cursive.
Yeah, a little cursive ga. So that might help a little bit, but it does look a lot similar. So, okay. So maybe we'll do 1 or 2 more and then we'll be done. Let's go to 111.
Challenge.
So,
right.
Oh my goodness, there's a lot of rhythm here. So, do you want to talk through this? Do you want me to sing it? Do you want to just go straight at it?
Do this one 3 times.
All right. So, and we'll do it slow because there's a lot going on here. So, be aware that the Gorgons you always have to read ahead. So, Anane Sarabirpa. 1, 2, 3, 4. La 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 Yep.
I don't understand why is the different. Why is this why is this repeated without making a change in the tone?
What do you mean? Why we have an E song?
Why we have this twice?
Oh, why the note is the same? Oh, because you would actually go na na. And that's just how you write the music. That's just a characteristic phrase. Right after that ke at the end of the line. La 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 la. Rest. La 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 la. All right. There's a lot going on there. So that's a pretty complicated piece of music, actually.
Yeah.
Sing it again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was taking it, to be honest with you.
Sure. That's perfectly acceptable. That's I mean, Patricia this morning at liturgy, she was at some point she was kind of like, I was just following whatever you were doing. She was like, I knew you were reading the music, but I definitely wasn't. So.
Where on the website does it show when you're doing the chanting and when you're not?
The chanting. What do you mean? When I'm doing the service?
Services.
Yeah. Oh, morning liturgies. If they're at 7 a.m., I'm doing them in general. Well, all of them. Then Wednesday Vespers, I'm normally in charge. Oftentimes we do Slavic chant, but sometimes some Byzantine. Saturdays, in general, I've been kind of in charge, I think.
What kind of Slavic chant?
Obikod.
Oh.
But then what we're doing now for Saturday Vespers, we're doing half and half, Byzantine and Obikod. We might change that soon, but we'll see. I have to talk about that. Inshallah. So normally what we do on Saturdays is we go back and.
How long does the service go on Wednesdays?
Half hour to 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Vespers?
Unless I can get a ride, I can't go.
Yeah. So, yeah, about a half hour to 45.
I'll give you a ride, but you're going to have to stick around through the parish council meeting afterwards.
Oh, this coming Wednesday, the parish council.
No big deal. I can read some.
So, 111. One more time, or maybe two more times. La 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 Nice. One more time, or how do you feel?
What do you think, Alina? One more time? I did better that time because I was at least able to follow it with my finger.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what the symbol was.
Which one?
There's sort
The
of
syndesmos.
Yeah, syndesmos.
big vicunulus, yes.
Yeah. It doesn't really do anything in this place. It just connects.
I didn't hear any difference at all
Mhm.
when you were singing.
Yep. Yeah, in this case, let's see. Na 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 na. No, that wouldn't do anything.
Okay.
Something
to do with if there was words there.
Yeah, it would just go. It would just tell you to connect all the syllables there. So
that's all one syllable.
Mhm.
And that's the only difference. But I thought I heard different laws. So.
Maybe you did. With words, it becomes more clear as to
Okay.
you know.
Are we doing it really slow? Could we speed it up?
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
Let's try that. Because when you just did your little solo there, it's like, oh wait a minute, that sounds familiar now.
Yeah. 3, 4, la 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 la
Death of Alexander from the rock group Anastasia.
Death of Alexander from the rock group Anastasia.
Just look it up online. You'll find out I'm right.
All right. Do they use this in there?
Yes, they use a lot of Byzantine chant.
On NPR, there was at some point, maybe a few years ago, there's a Greek jazz bassist, and at some point he did a solo, and they were talking about how he was fusing traditional music and folk songs and all these things, and then you hear him like dun 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 dun, and they went back into jazz, and I was like, I know what you're doing, and probably no one else listening had any idea.
It was for a while the only rock group with spiritual father until there was a rock group in Bulgaria that said that they wanted to have a spiritual father also, and kind of joined them in the spirit of creating kind of spiritual music.
Interesting.
There's two of them. The other one, I can't remember its name.
All right, so I'm fine with stopping there for the moment. Yeah. I think that was a lot of stuff.
Thank you. Yeah,
so
that's sort of a minor triumph.
Yeah. So next week we might go through some more of these, but I'd really like to get music. So I'll print out a bunch of Vespers stuff, and we'll start reading through. Probably tone 8, Plagal 4, tone 8 Vespers. I think.
We start with the slow ones.
No, brief ones.
That's what I meant. I mean, not slow.
The easy